It started on a Monday morning, with the sun just cresting over the horizon and the smell of fresh hay drifting from my ranch. I had spent the weekend fixing fences, checking the livestock, and generally enjoying the quiet life that came with owning property far from the suburban sprawl. Little did I know, my peace was about to be interrupted by none other than Karen, the HOA's self-appointed enforcer and general dictator of other people's property. I was sipping my morning coffee when I received the email. Subject line: urgent. Request for temporary storage use of your ranch property. I nearly choked on the coffee. Opening it, I read, "Dear homeowner, the HOA board has determined that additional storage space is required for community equipment. Your ranch is ideally situated and will serve as a temporary storage facility. Please ensure access for our personnel immediately. Sincerely, Karen, HOA board president." I blinked, reread it, then stared at the email, trying to wrap my brain around what I had just read. My ranch, my sprawling property with barns, corrals, and livestock, was apparently available for the HOA's temporary storage for their equipment, and they expected me to just comply? I called Karen immediately. "Hello, Karen," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I received your email about using my ranch for HOA storage. I'm afraid that's not possible. This is private property, and you don't have permission to enter or use it for storage." She didn't sound fazed. "Oh, come on. It's just for a few weeks. We'll be careful. You know, community spirit, helping out your neighbors." "Karen," I said slowly, "my property is not a warehouse. I have animals, equipment, and liability concerns. There is no way I'm giving you access. Not now, not ever." There was a pause. Then she said, with the kind of faux sweetness that usually precedes a tirade, "Well, if you refuse, we'll have to escalate. The HOA has rules about community cooperation. You could face fines, legal action." I laughed, a short, incredulous laugh. "Karen, your rules don't override my property rights. And trying to borrow a ranch? That's trespassing, not community spirit." After that call, I realized there was only one way to respond. If she thought she could bully me into giving access, she needed to experience the limits of her authority firsthand. I locked the gates, checked every barn door and corral, and made sure every entrance was secure. Then, I packed a bag, hopped in my truck, and drove off for a 10-day vacation. No emails, no calls, no HOA interference. Just mountains, lakes, and the sweet, liberating sense of freedom. The first few days were blissful. I hiked, fished, and slept without the faintest worry about HOA letters or Karen's frantic attempts at enforcement. Back home, I imagined her arriving at the ranch, clipboard in hand, expecting to find open gates and cooperative ranchers, only to be confronted by locked doors, high fences, and signage reading, "Private property, no access without permission." By day 3, I was receiving a flurry of emails. Karen was frantic. "We need access immediately," one subject line screamed. Another, "This is unacceptable behavior." I smiled, imagining her pacing the driveway, muttering about bylaws and community rules, while her plans lay foiled by a simple lock and my absence. Neighbors called occasionally, reporting sightings of Karen circling the ranch in her SUV, clipboard out, muttering about escalation, fines, and her authority. She had even tried to call the local police, claiming that I was denying the HOA access to property designated for community use. Of course, the officers politely reminded her that the law does not recognize HOA authority as a substitute for property rights. By day 7, I was halfway up a mountain trail, laughing at the mental image of Karen sitting in her SUV, attempting to plot a way onto my land. Every time I checked my phone, her emails had grown more desperate, her threats more absurd, and the polite warnings from the HOA board more frequent. But none of it mattered. I was gone. My ranch was locked, and there was nothing she could do. On day 10, I returned home. The ranch was untouched, gates were intact, barns secure, livestock calm, and not a single HOA representative had set foot on the property. Karen appeared almost immediately, SUV screeching to a halt, clipboard flailing like a flag in a storm. "You You locked the ranch. You went on vacation without notifying the HOA, she screamed. I leaned against the fence, arms crossed, and smiled. Yes, Karen, I locked it. And yes, I went on vacation. My property, my rules. You have no authority here. Her face went red, and she sputtered, searching for words that didn't exist. But community rules cooperation. Karen, I said calmly, the law doesn't recognize your HOA as having the right to borrow someone's ranch. You can suggest, request, or nag all you like. But you cannot trespass, and you cannot take my property for storage. Period. The neighbors had gathered discreetly, having heard the commotion from a distance. Some stifled laughter. Others exchanged knowing glances, silently congratulating me on my clever, peaceful rebellion. Karen left that day, muttering threats that carried little weight. The HOA tried a few more times to contact me about compliance, but after 10 days of uninterrupted peace, they quickly realized I wasn't budging. My ranch remained mine, my freedom intact, and Karen's obsession with control diminished slightly, if only because she had learned that some authority is absolute, and some rules simply don't apply outside the law. That night, I walked through my fields, feeling the wind in the tall grass, the smell of hay heavy in the air, and the satisfaction of knowing that property rights, personal boundaries, and a little strategic vacation time can triumph over even the most determined HOA control freak.